Welcome back, grade 11s. Now let's look at our application questions. Let's read the scenario below and answer the questions that follow. Naledi Solar Distributors, NSD. The government has increased the corporate tax rate payable by Naledi Solar Distributors. The management of NSD indicated that they might not be able to pay tax because of financial constraints. Customers have decided to buy affordable solar products from another cheap rival. Question number 1 says, quote 3 challenges for NSD from the scenario. Now let's look at the scenario. The government has increased corporate tax rate. This would be our first challenge. Then the management of NSD indicated that they might not. So the management of NSD indicated that they might not be able to pay tax because of financial constraints. Customers have decided to buy affordable solar products from another cheap rival. Second question, it says classify NSD's challenges according to the 3 business environments. Now, this first one, we spoke about the increased corporate tax by government. So where do we find the government? We find the government in our macro environment. So this statement is actually applicable to our macro environment. Now, let's look at the second statement. The management, where do we find management? We find management inside the business. So the internal part of our business, that is our micro environment. So the second statement would be the challenge for the micro environment. Then we move on to the last statement. Customers have decided to buy affordable solar product from another cheap rival. So this another cheap rival, it simply means that another businesses that sell similar product as ours, but at a cheaper price. So that would be the competitor in this instance. So where do we find competitors? We find competitors in our market environment. So the last challenge there, so the last statement on our scenario is going to be the challenge of the market environment. Now, let's move on to the third question. Explain the meaning of the National Credit Act and Consumer Protection Act as some of the contemporary legislation. This act was established to protect both businesses and consumers from negligent lending practices that results in over-indebtedness for consumers. So, the National Credit Act was not only established to protect consumers from being granted loans recklessly by businesses, but it was also established to make sure that businesses are protected from bad debtors, consumers who are not able to pay back their debts. Now, let's move on to the Consumer Protection Act. This act promotes and advances the social and economic welfare of consumers in South Africa. So basically, this act is meant for consumers, whereby it ensures that whatever money that you pay for a product, you get the benefits that were promised from that particular product. You need to be aware that even businesses, where they buy from their suppliers, they are consumers, so they are also protected by the Consumer Protection Act. It's not only me and you who are customers, but even businesses as well, they are consumers. So it makes sure that you get exactly the quality of the product that you have paid for. Now, let's move on to the fourth question. Discuss 2 other contemporary legislation that pose a challenge to businesses. Labor Relations Act. It deals with labor justice and to bring healthy industrial relations in the business between the employers and employees. So basically what you need to understand, learners, is that when they established this act, they wanted to make sure that there is peace in the workplace. There's a healthy relationship between employers and employees, whereby the employees are able to voice whatever grievances, whatever opinions that they have to their employer. And likewise, the employer is able to make sure that they involve employees in decision making, which they make sure that they initiate bargaining sessions. It provides compensation for disablement. Oh, okay. Then another act we'll look into is Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Diseases Act. It provides compensation for disablement or death caused by injuries or diseases contracted by employees in the course of their employment. So what does this mean? It simply means that this act was established to ensure that if employees get injured in the workplace while performing their duties, or they die, or they contract diseases, so they have to be compensated for that. They have to be paid. It will depend on the nature of their injury or their disablement. Now, with that being said, let us just go for a quick ad break. Stay tuned.